Hello, listeners. Welcome to another program of my English channel, my English teaching channel, in fact. I hope you are doing well. I hope everything in your life is in order and meets your expectations. Today, I'm going to talk about something that concerns all learners of English around the world. I'm going to answer some questions, in fact. Let's look at the questions first. The first question is: does English belong to the native speakers of English? Many people think English only belongs to the native speakers. Is that true or not? I'm going to answer this question later on. The second question I'll be answering today is: which accent should we choose to learn for our English? Should we stick with British accent or should we try to speak in American accent? Which one is better? The third question is: how should we feel when we make mistakes, mostly grammar mistakes? Should we feel we are not good, we are not talented, we cannot learn, even though we have spent a lot of time learning English? When we make mistakes, we think back and look at all those years, all the time we have spent learning the language, and we ask ourselves, how is this possible? I have spent a lot of time and effort in this. Why do I still make mistakes? How should we feel about it when we make mistakes? And the last question I'll be answering today is: are native speakers necessarily better communicators? Well, let's start with the first question. Does English belong to its native speakers? Well, let me bring up some statistics. According to some stats, around 1.5 billion people around the world speak English reasonably well today. That is more than the population of all English-speaking countries combined. Okay, around 1/4 of the world's population. I can also say 1/4 of the world's population can communicate reasonably well in English. And the number of non-native speakers is almost 3 times as big as the number of native speakers around the world. That clears it out that English does not belong to native speakers anymore. English belongs to 1.5 billion people, mostly non-native speakers, who can use it to communicate well with each other. We do not necessarily have to follow some small grammar rules that native English speakers follow in their everyday conversations. For example, I find it very difficult to put the third person singular S. There is always the S we put at the end of the verb when the subject is third person singular. I always find it difficult to put it there. Sometimes I put it where it's not required, and sometimes I don't put it in where it is needed. Or I forget to use definite and indefinite articles such as the, a, or an properly in their correct place where they are needed. These are common mistakes that non-native speakers make, even if they have been learning English for a long time. So what's the point? What's the point of talking about this here? I believe, and I think you believe, that we don't need to feel less good when we make such mistakes. What I want to say today is, even though we make mistakes such as putting definite articles wrongly or using the third person singular s wrongly, we shouldn't feel less good about it. It is completely okay, because this is a rule of native speakers. Native speakers tell us we can't put s when the subject is first person singular, and we have to put s when it is third person singular. This is their rule. It is what they follow. And what is the point of learning a language? The point of learning a language is to be able to communicate with others. I mean, unless you want to get a perfect score in an international exam such as IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo, etc., you can still make such small mistakes and get away with it. It's not necessary to feel bad about yourself when you make such small mistakes. And then, which accent should we choose if we want to be fluent in English? Should we choose either British or American accent? Well, choosing and speaking in a certain accent, could be British, American, or any other accent, is not an easy job to do. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time even from the learners who are already fluent in English. So you have to put in much more effort and time improving your accent and getting it close to the British accent or American accent. But why would you do it at all if your goal, again, is to speak English and communicate in this language? Nobody's forcing you to pick up any certain accent. Even in international exams of English, such as TOEFL or IELTS, your accent is not evaluated. You could speak in any accent, including your own accent, the accent you use to speak in your native language. You can use that, and nobody's going to give you a negative point or anything for that. But if you want to choose either British or American accent, I'm not talking about other accents such as Australian accent and others, or Canadian accent, which is a mixture of British and American accents. If your goal is to learn either of these two accents perfectly, you have to look at yourself. What kind of person are you? As for me, I prefer British accent because it kind of helps me speak better when I talk more slowly. In American English, people talk fast, and that gives your mind a bit less time to think about what you're going to say before you say it. But British English is more smooth, and it is kind of slow, at least slower than American English. And that helps me have more time to think and polish my sentence before I say it out loud. But that completely depends on your personality and how your brain thinks. If you think your brain thinks fast, you can go with American accent. That's a good choice for you. But if you want more time to think in between your sentences and phrases, you can go with the British English. The last question is, are native speakers better communicators? Well, that is necessarily not true, especially when they are in a setting where non-native speakers outnumber native speakers. As an example, when there is a conference in which both non-native and native speakers of English are present, mostly it is the native speakers that cannot be understood. They can only be understood by other native speakers. Non-natives cannot understand natives, and the main goal of the conference which is to understand each other, other's speech, is gone. So in I remember I attended a conference in the past, and there were some native and non-native English speakers. Every time the native speakers came on stage to give a presentation, we had a lot of difficulties understanding them, not because they used very advanced vocabulary or complicated grammar structures, but because they used a lot of slangs and colloquial English in their speech. So we had to ask them to be a bit less English so everybody could understand them. That is all I wanted to tell you today. I don't want to record a long podcast. I think I should keep it short so you can listen to it all. You can follow me to the end of it. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel wherever you are watching or listening to it. Until next time we meet each other, goodbye.